Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Don't know how exactly you see Crawford versus Spence playing out.
Crawford versus I'm 50-50 on it. If I'm going to go away, though, I'm very, very big on Derrick's system, Derrick James' system. As a trainer, as a teacher, the way that he installed Errol Spence is one of the few fighters that fights humans the exact way he hit the pads. There's nothing exaggerated, there's nothing minimized. He fights people the same exact way you see him on pads. You have to big that up, especially in this day and time, because you watch so many people do the da-da-da-da-da-da, and then when they get in a fight, you're like, oh, man, they just disappear. They don't even give you half of it. That right there goes to show some credit even to Spence. I mean, his concentration game. That means the information that he's taking from Derrick is not leaving when he goes home. That means they're not just working in the gym. That means there's film study going on. That means during workouts, the workout is being stopped saying, You see what I mean? That's why that's not being done right. Look at the space in between your feet. That's almost like blasphemous to say the fighters in the gym. What you mean the space in between my feet? Because if you ask somebody what's good footwork, they'll say Sugar Ray Leonard or Muhammad Ali shuffle. Good footwork is just, can you step to your left? Can you step to your right? Can you step forward? Can you step backwards? Effectively. Not just do, I'm talking about with intent and can be victorious going either way. That's good footwork. And to me, that's what Errol Spence and Derrick remind me of together. Like, you know what I mean? Being a complete fighter. Yeah, he may not be fancy. He may not do all that shucking job and stuff. But you put a shucking and jobber in front of him, to me, he'll beat him 7 days out the week.
Is there any
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? Hope y'all doing well. So I really wanted to touch on this interview that I saw with Malik Scott on Fight Hype. Shout out to Fight Hype. And I also heard Blue Blood Sports TV in the background asking questions, contributing to the interview. Love Blue Blood Sports TV, man. I appreciate what you do over there. You did what I'm saying. But I was listening to the brother Malik Scott, and they had asked him, what were your thoughts on the mega fight, Undisputed, the biggest fight in the sport of boxing, the fight that will crown undoubtedly the number one pound for pound fighter in the entire sport of boxing, Errol the True Spence Jr. versus Terrence Bud Crawford. You know, they asked him what did he think about that fight, and he said, man, right off the bat, it's a 50-50 fight, off tops, off the dribble, big facts, it's 50-50. But he said, if I had to lean one way, I would lean towards, Team Spence because of Derrick James and their system and what they present to the game, what Derrick James presents to the craft and how he teaches the sport of boxing to his fighters. He's not only just a coach or a trainer. He's actually a teacher. It's a difference. He teaches these guys the fundamentals and the small nuances, the things that a lot of people overlook. He teaches these guys something that it's invaluable. You know what I'm saying? It's something that when all else fails, these are the things that you can lean on when shit get real in a fight. You see it in Frank Martin. You see it in Errol Spence. You've seen the improvement and progression of a Jermell Charlo. So what he said was really dope, man, because it's something that I've been preaching on this channel. Y'all know, y'all have listened to my breakdowns of Errol Spence and why I think he's the best fighter at 147, why I think he could ultimately be the best fighter in the world, why I favor him over Terrence Crawford. And it's no slight to any of these other fighters. I think Terrence Crawford is absolutely incredible. Jerron Boots-Ennis is absolutely incredible. It's a lot of guys that I think are great fighters that I'm huge fans of. Virgil Ortiz, absolutely incredible. You dig what I'm saying? But Errol Spence, it's the fundamentals. It's the fact that, Malik Scott talked about how Errol Spence is one of the few fighters that punches, that fights a human the same way he fights on the mitts in training, the same way he hit the heavy bag, the same way he hit the mitts. Remember what I told y'all. Just go watch his training videos. Everything is so fundamental and so crisp and so perfect and so structured. You feel what I'm saying? People look at him hit the mitts and they say, oh, I don't see nothing special. He's slow. But me, what I see, I hear them pops. Pop, 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 pop. I hear the accuracy and the crispness and the crispiness and just the punch placement and the continuous flow of punches. If you wonder why a guy like that can be steadfast in a fight and continue after round 7, after round 8, after round 9, after round 10, he's giving you continuous thudding shots with great leverage and great punch placement, and he's leaning and he's sitting on these shots, and you're wondering, how is this round 11? How is he still giving you a steady dose of the same shit that he was giving you in round 1? How? That's because Derrick James coaches the fundamentals. He coaches it from a very foundational level of the sport. Malik Scott said that Errol Spence is the only fighter that he's seen that performs the same way in the gym, on the mitts, on the bag, in the fights. Remember why I tell y'all, I always say that one of the biggest attributes, one of the most brilliant attributes of Errol Spence is the fact that he's coachable. The fact that he's disciplined and he can stick to a game plan. Imagine having, let's say you're one of the greatest coaches of all time, Phil Jackson or Bill Belichick. Now, imagine if you got a great game plan. You're one of the most brilliant minds ever. Now, you still need the athletes and the guys to go out there and make that shit happen. So you can have this game plan all you want, but if a motherfucker can't go out there and execute the shit, you assed out. Now imagine having that level of a brilliant mind and strategy and teaching ability, and then you have a fighter that's incredibly receptive and is able to soak that information in and is able to go out there and execute that exactly how y'all drew that shit up. That's like playing the game. That shit like playing 2K. You got a motherfucking joystick in your hand and you able to control that motherfucker and make it do exactly what you want it to do. And then on top of that, this fighter Errol Spence has his own skills and physical gifts and athletic ability that adds on to his ability to be coached. That shit is incredibly dangerous for an opponent, and it's incredibly powerful for the system that Derrick James and Errol Spence has. And the same shit I see in Frank Martin, the same shit I see in Jermell Charlo. Remember what I told people was getting on me when I said Jermell Charlo wasn't listening to Brian Castano and he wasn't listening to Derrick James in the first fight with Brian Castano. People talking about, oh, he just ain't that good. He lost that fight. He was scared to fight with Castano. The reason he didn't let his hands go because he got hit with a shot and he was scared. No, he just didn't fucking listen to Coach Derrick James. But in the second fight, he listened. He followed the game plan and you seen the result. That's the difference. Errol Spence has this uncanny and rare ability to be coached and be receptive. On top, he's already, without Derrick James, he's already a gifted athlete. He already got great punching power. He already got high ring and boxing IQ. He already has a great feel for the craft and for the game. But then you add all of that, and along with his physical dimensions, you add a coach like Derrick James, and then Errol Spence's ability to execute that game plan, that makes a motherfucker extremely dangerous. So Malik Scott was just raving about how, people look at Earl and they say, well, he ain't flashy. He, everything looks so basic. And I hear that all the time, still to this day. They were saying the same shit leading up to the Mikey Garcia fight. I had to make a video on that, which is one of the videos that really got a lot of people eyes on my channel. When I was trying to tell motherfuckers, you think Earl made it this far and he can't box? And then he went out there and showed everybody a little glimpse of what he can do when it comes to just boxing. Some shit that he been showing way back since the Olympics. You dig what I'm saying? So it's mind-boggling that people still think this dude is basic. But Malik Scott said, man, look, he might not have all that fancy and flashy footwork and all that, but he said when people think of footwork, they think of Muhammad Ali, all the flashy shit, or Sugar Ray Leonard. But it's not about how quick you can shuffle your feet. It ain't about how pretty that shit look. It's about the subtle movement. It's about being effective. Errol Spence takes subtle. That's why when I did my breakdown a couple of weeks ago, I gave Errol Spence the edge over Crawford in footwork. Because it ain't about how swift your feet is. It's about how effective you can be with gaining angles and getting leverage on shots and being able to get an angle on your opponent and put them in a vulnerable position where you're in an advantageous position to land shots and where you can't really get hit with nothing crazy. Where you can get in, where you can control the distance and control the spacing and dictate the pace of the fight to your opponent. That's why every fight you seen Errol Spence in, he dictate the pace of the fight. Don't nobody dictate the pace of the fight to Errol Spence. He the one that's dictating the pace of the fight. You know what I'm saying? So he said that, all that shucking and jiving, like how Derrick James said, all that moving and shit, it sound good to a motherfucker on your ass with some real heavy shit, with fundamentals and with a foundation, with structure. And that shit nonstop is constant. You feel me? He said, if you put somebody who doing all that sucking and jiving in front of Errol Spence, he said he'll beat him 7 days out the week. That's powerful shit. That breakdown that Malik Scott gave is powerful, and it's something that I've been telling y'all this whole time. I still don't understand how y'all don't got an eye for this shit. You don't got to pick Errol Spence over Terrence Crawford. That's not what this is about. This is about understanding the brilliance of Errol Spence. Understanding how having those subtle foot movements, that jab that's constant, how he's continuously throwing shots, even if a guy is... Yordenis Ugas did a good job of blocking. He was doing a good job of shelling up. Those shots were still getting through. And even the shots that was hitting on the arm, the elbows, the shoulders, the neck, that shit hurt. At some point, your arm's gonna get tired and you gonna let your guard down and them bitches gonna start hitting you in your head. And then you gonna have to try to cover up the body and your body fucked up. That's why you see broken ribs, because it's a constant flow of technical punches. It's just a constant flow of technique and strategy that continues to come after you round after round after round until you break down. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see motherfuckers with broken orbital bones and shit like that. You don't see that shit all the time with everybody else. That's because they not putting on a consistent demolition of ass whooping on motherfuckers like Errol Spence is. These guys literally, Malik Scott said, Errol Spence is one of the few fighters that you see punch on the heavy bag in the mitts the same way he do in the fight. A lot of these guys be in the gym doing all these little fancy moves, all these little fancy combinations on the mitts and on the punching bag. But when they get in the ring, they don't do none of that shit. When Errol Spence get in the ring, you see the same shit. Pop, 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 pop. You know what I'm saying? To the head, to the body, you see the same. That jab, you see the same shit. You see the same shit. And it just so happens that, he know how to flow with that shit in the ring and make it look organic and make it unpredictable. Everybody say that shit look easy till they get in the ring with him, and it's a totally different story. You realize, I really gotta fight this motherfucker. Because if I can't hurt him, if I can't get him up off me, I'm gonna get my ass whooped. Because he not finna stop. He not finna stop. That shit dangerous, man. That shit dangerous. I'm trying to tell y'all, look. If Terrence Crawford, if that man can't hurt Errol Spence, it's over with for him. Errol Spence ain't finna stop coming. He ain't finna stop cutting that ring off. And he ain't finna stop throwing punches. At some point, Terrence Crawford gonna have to fight. And that's what's gonna make this fight great. It's gonna be a fight in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But it's gonna be strategic, and that's why I say both of these guys are extremely skilled. But when it comes down to when you throw the skill out, because I think the skills match up with each other. I think both of these guys got a lot of heart and a lot of dog, so that's gonna match up. You know what I'm saying? When one guy raise up the level of intensity, the other one gonna raise it up, and then so on and so on. They gonna continue to match each other. But then when all that shit even out, what's gonna separate Errol Spence is those intangibles. Is that shit that he gonna be able to stick to that game plan. When Terrence Crawford started fighting off emotion and pure athletic ability, Errol Spence still sticking to that foundational ability. When the shit get real in the trenches. When it's the 10th and the 11th round and motherfuckers is tired and they done been through a fight, if it make it that far, Errol Spence still sticking to that foundational ability. That shit, that the small stuff that everybody looking over, the shit that motherfuckers ain't even thinking about. I'm trying to tell you, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. What did y'all think about Malik Scott and his breakdown on, the genius behind Derrick James and Errol Spence and the system that Derrick James run as a teacher of the sport of boxing? Y'all let me know what y'all think. Contender regime boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.